afternoon we're at Stanley Valmarinos just outside of Uralla. Since 2011 I've been helping with the data management. So most of it's computer-based, compiling reports and summary statistics to provide back to Stanley Valmarinos to help them make breeding decisions.
So you already have a degree in paramedicine, but I've injured myself, and so I've come back to uni as a mature age student, and I decided to go with pharmacy because it sort of followed on from being a paramedic.
My name's Alan Nezzi, currently in the University of New England Sport and Exercise Science Labs. Maths is really important, learning how to manipulate the numbers when you need to solve equations or learn to find unknowns. With any work that we're doing in the lab here, we manipulate measurements that we're taking into a form where we can get a usable number out of it.
And I studied Bachelor of Natural Resource Management at UNE and graduated in 2010. As part of that course I studied Stat 100 and Maths. I work for Ecological Australia as an environmental scientist, and I do remote sensing analysis, aquatic ecology, as well as biodiversity monitoring.
I am a PhD candidate, which means I do research and in the end write a massive thesis.
I'm currently undertaking honours in a Bachelor of Environmental Science, which I've started this year after doing a 3-year undergraduate degree. The problem that we're looking at is heavy metal content that could be entering waterways. So I'm trying to work out whether it's going to pose a risk to groundwater. I had to use quite a bit of maths to actually work out what I needed the field capacity to be based on how much water is retained in the soils even after they appeared dry. And I've been using statistics to actually work out the significance of my results. The skills I learnt in statistics and maths certainly helped when doing my honours project, and now as I'm doing my PhD, also in genetics, I use them pretty much every day.
In terms of stats really important for learning to read scientific papers and understand how they got the results they did and what statistical analysis they've applied to it, and whether that's a good enough method to come to conclusions they've come to.
If I hadn't studied Maths 120 and succeeded at it, I would not have been able to continue with my pharmacy studies. Every subject that I'm doing this semester has a lot of mathematics in it, doing a lot of equations, and it really has to start to come very naturally to you. So I'm using it in biochemistry, pharmaceutical science, and also for drug calculations in making pharmacy products.
We're using these techniques and this information within the mining industry so that we can monitor what sort of impacts they're having on the environment, or we're using it to understand what's happening within a river catchment in terms of how it's responding to wet or dry seasons or release of environmental flows and that sort of thing.
The most difficult thing about doing stats and maths is when you first start, because it's something totally new and it's totally different to what you do in the HSC. But once you get into it and you learn from other people and you ask lots and lots of questions, it actually gets easier, especially when you can relate it to something in the outside world, such as animals, which is what I look at.
I used to be a civil engineering student and I actually dropped out of civil engineering due to the maths. I didn't really understand maths that well in school, and as soon as I came into the university level of mathematics, I didn't really get a good introduction to the maths that we needed to learn. It was just a little bit too hard for me. Yeah, but when I came to this uni, I was definitely a little bit worried about doing maths again. The level was a bit easier and they explained it much better, and it just made more sense.
Well, it had not been that long since I'd finished a degree, but coming back to do maths and chemistry straight out of high school standard was quite challenging for me because it's been 30 years since I'd been to high school. So for me, I was really scared about maths. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to cope with it, because not only has it been a long time, maths has improved a lot since then. I think what they do in high school now is a lot harder.
Because I studied maths right through high school, I found the transition from secondary school to university maths a lot smoother than some of my peers would. But then next semester when I encountered Stat 100, it was a whole new ballgame.
I started uni as a mature age student, so I hadn't done any formal education for over 10 years. Maths and statistics were quite challenging and I didn't want to have to repeat units, so for me getting through them and passing was very important.
I was actually surprised in my first year in statistics and maths particularly. There was a lot of students in the class, but the lecturers have time for you if you're asking sensible questions. Like if you have legitimate concerns and are having trouble, they're happy to help you out. And they run tutorials for it, and like I said, the past sessions are available, so there is a lot of support, which I thought was really good.
When I was studying Stat 100, I found the past sessions very useful. So PASS stands for Peer Assisted Study Sessions, and they're basically extra tutorials and an opportunity to do extra practice and cement those skills that you learn in the lectures and computer labs and tutorials.
Well, as a new student to any subject, but especially to maths, I would ensure that I do the tutorial and the assignment every week and understand it. The worst thing you can do is fall behind, and if you don't understand something, go and ask the lecturer or your colleagues straight away.
I don't think I would have passed if I hadn't have worked with other students at the same time. So definitely, and also getting help early as soon as I didn't understand something, rather than waiting till it was too late and I was in over my head.
My biggest piece of advice for people studying maths or statistics would be do a little bit of it every week and make sure you ask questions and seek clarification when you don't understand.
Basically, it's allowed me to follow animals around on a daily basis and get paid for it.
I wouldn't have been able to undertake honours, I don't think, without it. What I'm doing does have quite a lot of maths involved, and like I said, I need the statistics to prove whether or not it's significant. So I don't think I'd be here doing this right now if it weren't for those units.
It's essential for my job that I have some statistics skills in terms of being able to understand how to design surveys so that the results you get are meaningful and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a very important component of my work.
Don't be scared of statistics. It's a tool that you will need throughout your whole degree and further on in life when you get a job, especially if you work in the science industry. It's not a scary thing, it's just a tool to work out patterns in the environment.